Hello, welcome back to Custody Central. Let's have a quick little video on kind of advanced charging strategies. So let's have a quick little summary on charging in 10th. You have to make engagement range with your charge target, so you have to get within an inch, and you have to not be in engagement range of any other units that you didn't declare as a charge target. Your unit has to remain in coherency while you make the charge. But one of the new things in 10th is that your models must end up closer to the charge target, and if a model can base, you must base while maintaining other conditions. So the thing to keep in mind is that the controlling player gets to choose the order in which to move the models. Now, in 10th, the movement phase says you can move through your own models as if they weren't there. I don't see that kind of replicated within the charge phase, within the rulebook. Now, I think most people are playing it in a variety of different ways. I think some people are even forgetting that they can move through their own models in the first place, so maybe it doesn't matter. So, and I think in the director's commentary, they've kind of set up charge move as its own defined term. So, as a result of kind of looking into it more closely for the purpose of the video, I think where I land on it is that you actually shouldn't be moving through your own models during the charge phase, but in all likelihood, most people don't care. But for the purpose of this video, let's assume that the more restrictive version, so that it's less abusive for your opponents. So yeah, so just remembering you control the activation order. So there are good ways to charge, there are bad ways to charge, and there are ones in the middle. And what you want to avoid is kind of accidentally doing a bad charge, even if it's successful, and trying making all your charges as good as possible. Now, the really big ways that a charge can be good or bad is if it lets you tag a primary objective, or it lets you stay out of firing lanes, right? You don't want to have a model making base to something because it can, and as a result, that model can now be seen by the enemy, right, in their turn, in their shooting phase. So let's jump into TTS, and we can show you how ordering matters. Everything will be the same, starting locations will be the same, charge roll will be the same. It's just the order in which you move your models that'll allow you to have different kind of results. So thanks for joining me on TTS. We can see we've just put in a sandbox mode here. So we've got an objective, you can ignore the deployment lines, and we've got some enemy incursors here, and we've got a unit of guardians with a blade champion. Now, let's say we're in the charge phase, and let's say that we rolled an 8 for the charge. Just note the position of the dice here, so that we're in a 3x2 formation, and we're tucked right next to the dice. So if we were to charge in accordance with the rules, we would be making a charge of 8, let's say. You don't have to go 8, but you could go up to a maximum of 8 if you so wish, and you have to basically base if you can base, right? So if you did it like this, we would get everybody in base to base, it would be fine. Everybody would get to attack, right? Everybody gets to attack, this is fine, they're all dead. And then afterwards you can consolidate onto the point, and that's all fine. But what if there was a better way to charge? What if these guys weren't incursors? What if there was something much harder to kill and much scarier? So let's go back, let's reset this up. And just note we're in the 3x2 formation again, next to the 5 dice. Now, actually, during the course of recording the video, I went to check whether you can move through your own models during the charge phase. I actually don't think you can. I've been playing it as if you can, but it doesn't make that much difference. It just slightly reduces the amount of movement shenanigans that you're able to do. So here, for example, you can base like this, right? You don't have to use your full movement, but you are basing, right? Now, what happens with this back row? They actually can't reach, right? He can't land there. He can't. This model cannot base anywhere. This model also cannot base anywhere. So this is all eligible and fine, but now what we can do is we can now tag this objective. This model's in base to base with that model, and that model's in base to base with that model. So he gets to allocate all those attacks. Same thing here, and same thing here. Now, what's different is that we've now tagged this objective, and the charge is still, everything else is the same. So now we get full wound rerolls, which is really good. And the only thing that we did, really, is by move blocking with some models to make it so that the models at the back couldn't actually make base to base with their charge roll. So you can see we got the same charge roll, but we've got two different results. Obviously for the incursors, it's not going to make much difference, they'll all be dead. But if you imagine this was a much harder target, this is just a way to get some free agency on your models in the unit. Now let's go to a different example here. You can ignore the red lines. This was just for in terms of like placing where it would be, right? So let's say here we're in the charge phase again against these incursors, and let's say here we made a charge, but here we rolled a charge roll of 11. Now, if we do this 11, right, everything that can base has to base, right? So if you charged like this, everything can base, right? And you'd be like, good, I made the charge, they're all dead, it's fine. But the problem is, your opponent has set it up so that even after you consolidate, you can't actually touch the objective. Can't actually touch the objective. So how else could we do this, right? Now, we have a Blade Champion. The Blade Champion has a special rule that says he can reroll all charge rolls. It's not failed charge rolls, it's all charge rolls. So here, for example, if instead of 11, let's say you got a 6, right? Because 11 made it so that you can consolidate onto the point, you decided to reroll. So let's say we move 6. If we move 6, what would we do? We'd probably do something like, actually let's not move through our models. Let's just do something like this. Right? Let's do something like this. Right? He couldn't base anyway. Now this guy can't base anything. Still do it like this. He's touching something that's basing, 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 right? They're all dead still, but now within 3. So after they all die, we do our consolidate. And we'd consolidate within 3 and we'd touch the point. And we'd be very happy with that. So this is just a fringe case where sometimes you want to consider re-rolling your charge because your charge is too big, because it forces you to base if you can. Now this is a bit of a fringe case, so what I would say is between 1 and up to 5 inches, you can think about re-rolling your charge if you're successful. To do this beneficially, I think 7 and above, I would not be re-rolling the charge unless it's unless you're going to win the game doing it, or you're not going to lose the game as a result of making a shorter charge that is still successful. And I think at like 6 inches, it's kind of debatable whether you want to do it or not. But I think up to 5, I can be brave. You know, up to 4 inches, I think you should definitely be doing it if this is going to be beneficial. All right, so let's go back to the PowerPoints and have a look at one more example. Another thing related to charging, although this is more on the defensive side, although you can apply it, you know, in reverse for when you are charging, is be mindful of unit formation, right? So you have to keep in mind that when units are charging, they can base models. Models that are based effectively can't pile in. They're stuck there, right? Because they're based, they can't pile in. And models can only allocate attacks to enemy models that are within engagement range. And your engagement range is 1 inch. So you might find yourself, even if you're sitting pretty on an objective, you have CP for fight first, or you have a shield captain, you think it doesn't really matter what charges me, I'm going to whack it. It's not necessarily true, because you might end up tagged, based, you won't be able to allocate the attacks to the things that you want to, and you might end up overkilling trash and only being able to get 5 attacks off into the thing that you'd actually like to fight first against, right? So we'll jump back into TCS really quickly and we'll just show you the example. So let's look at our final example for today. In this example, we've got our unit of Guardians with a Blade Champion and a Vexilla. They're sitting on the point. Custodians, we've got the Fire First Stratagem. We're sitting pretty happy. We're thinking, silly Swarm Lord, if you want to attack, we're going to swing at you first, right? But let's say it's the Tyrannid player's charge turn. What can happen here? The Termagants come in and they charge you, and they've now based all of your models. Not all of them, but the 5 models here, right? Let's say you get based, and they have the base, and let's say they move blocks, whatever. Like, this is not important. The main thing here is that these 5 models here have been based. Now the Swarm Lord makes a charge and bases your thing. Now you can still activate fight first. This is all fine. The problem is your Swarm Lord, the Swarm Lord, is not in engagement range with these 5 models. So as a result, these 5 models cannot allocate any attacks to the Swarm Lord. So you fight first, you kill all of this stuff, right? This poor idiot with a Misericordia, not saying that Misericordia shields Vex carriers are bad, but this guy who's only got a Misericordia, he's the only guy that can allocate attack to the Swarmlord. So he gets to fight first, but Swarmlord doesn't care. Let's say he loses like a wound. He doesn't care. Swarmlord then butchers loads of you guys. This is bad, right? So what you want to be doing, where possible, is you want to maintain a tight formation, right? So that no matter what, let's say Swarmlord had tagged to this guy, right? It's a bit hard with the thing, right? But let's say we had our formation like this, right? These guys still wouldn't have got to attack, right? Because they would have been tagged by the termagants, so they can't pile in, blah blah blah, right? But this guy could attack because he's the one that's based. He's in base with that guy. He's in base with that guy, right? Even if it had been a little bit further, let's say 1.4, and we'd base that guy, it would be awful, right? So this is why I say, to the extent that you can, try and keep a tight formation so that if you get charged, you're actually able to pile in to do your attacks when you fight first, because otherwise bad things can happen. Anyway, thanks very much for making it to the end of the video. If you did like it, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm. If you don't have notifications on for the channel, please do so, because I think only 6% of you still so far have got notifications, even if you are subscribed. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm still working on a tier list kind of army construction video. I think it's end up being very long, so I might end up chopping it into parts. But anyway, thanks very much for making it to the end, and we'll see you guys next time.